Rushing Manhua. Hello everyone. Our work today begins with our prota saying that in the weather forecast that day it would rain all over the country due to a typhoon. It would be a terrible news for someone like him who planned to go camping. But something surreal happened. One sunny afternoon, the protagonist takes a piece of meat while thanking Miss Park and puts it in the pan. That is, according to him, kimchi and aged samgyeopsal, typical Korean foods. The protagonist also opens a can of soda and gets a super smile on your face. From afar, someone calls him Kang Hyun, saying that they are there. It's a good thing he prepared a lot of food, because the place he's living has a lot of mouths to feed. A very big man comes. He asks if the young man still has that thing called alcohol. Then there also appears a man who is half wolf, a girl who is half fox, an elderly man who says he sees something new, and an elf with a blue bird on her head. She apologizes for disturb him while he was resting. Suddenly, a beautiful image of the forest and where they are appears. Is not the earth. One landscape is presented to us, after which we see a car in front of an establishment. A man asks if this is the store that the prota's grandfather used to manage. It has a really cool vibe there. The most famous chef in Korea is going to open a restaurant there. He asks his driver if he is sure there is no one there. He must check carefully, because the last time they let their guard down, they were caught by surprise by paparazzi, but according to the man who would be crazy to follow him there. Inside of the car, the prota lowers the mask and responds that really, he is not wrong. If someone saw him talking like that, they might think it is with the celebrity disease, where people who aren't famous for a crazy thing think they are. But now, wherever he goes, several people recognize him. Our protagonist graduated from the CIA, one of the 3 best culinary schools in the world, won the Paris International Cooking Competition, and somehow was recognized, which resulted in several love calls from TV shows. Some people may think that because he is young and competent, he has a great future ahead of him, but then, people invading places to see him, other chefs belittling him for his fame. Questions like why he became a chef, many saying that he should have become a celebrity instead of a cook. Several comments from haters and people distributing free hate. He has become a sad person with his life. Now he is tired of all this attention. The prota enters the place with the driver right behind carrying some boxes. He asks the boss to rethink about it as he won't make much money that way, but for the prota it's fine, he came to rest. But for the driver, people who open businesses don't want to rest. The criminal retorts by stating that cooking for him is resting. Before the two of them tidying things up, the driver asks them to go eat, as he is starving, so they will eat. The prota is in front of a delicious ramen. He picks it up with his chopsticks and puts it in his mouth. Call the manager. His friend asks him to drop it and calm down. But he continues, how do they expect humans to eat that? But the driver thought it was reasonably normal, even though the quality isn't that high due to there being no competition. The sauce is actually good. The problem is that the protagonist at this point no longer tastes the food. A broken plate, a feeling of fear and despair on his face. He goes to a doctor, and according to the doctor, all this is probably happening due to stress. He cannot promise anything with surgery. The recommendation is to first treat this stress. The doctor asks him if he has any hobbies, and then everything goes dark. The driver, who also seems to be a friend of his, tells him that he is worried about the number of customers there. He thinks there is not much to do in that place and asks the prota if he is sure about that. All there are mountains and fields, but for him this is perfect. He can even camp in these mountains and fields. Car on the road, the prota is in the back, checking if he is carrying essential items. The driver, not knowing where he intends to go, asks if he is going to the beach, but the prota says no. He is going to camp in the mountains. The girl finds it strange because of his clothes. She also asks if he won't need a stall. Then the prota enters into this doubt, and it's obvious that she reaffirms it. So the miscreant asks her to stop at the village of Yongpyeon, but according to her, they don't sell stalls there. But the prota, he's not going there for that. He has to go somewhere. In the village, he remembers that it is the first time he has been there since the death of his grandfather. He arrives at a house and thinks he has to clean it before leaving. A noise catches his attention at one of the doors of the house. He wonders if there is the house's warehouse. So he sneaks in the door, very afraid that it's a thief. If so, he's going to use his camping bag to beat the criminal. Suddenly he's scared. A cat meows next to him. Angrily, he tells the feline to be grateful that the same is just a cat, as if it weren't. The prota enters the warehouse and states that because no one is taking care of the place, even wild animals can enter. Inside, he can't find the room switch and realizes that something is strange. strange. He is walking through a dark void and thinks that somehow, other than that it didn't seem so big, there he sees a glow, and when he gets closer he sees a huge, very mysterious hole. Suddenly the clumsy man slips and falls at great speed. When he wakes up, he wonders where he is. Around him there is a large, super colorful vegetation, still in shock, and lying down a forest animal approaches and licks his hand. At that moment, the protagonist jumps. He wonders what animal that is. It looks like a squirrel, but its ears are super big. Out of nowhere, the squirrel starts flapping its ears like the wings of a bird and flies away. The prota, perplexed by the scene, just watches, frozen. Next door, suddenly another noise. He wonders what it will be this time, but it's okay. It's just a bunny in the bush. Then the bunny gets up from the bush and shows a big, pumped bodybuilder's body. Then he jumps away. There, the protagonist becomes desperate and runs away, wondering where the exit from that asylum is. That place is dangerous. After running so much, it starts to get dark. On the ground, he feels like he's been condemned. He couldn't find anyone, and there's no phone there. Then he remembers that the doctor suggested he camp, but not get lost in the middle of the forest. His belly growls with hunger, so he takes his backpack, and with his skills and the things he brought, he makes a fire. After that, he unloads the things to make his food next door. He thinks it's great that he managed to make the fire, the only one. The problem is that that's all he has. Before, he had a smaller camping bag that contained many more items, but at some point it got lost. Whatever life goes on, at least he has something to eat, he'll just have to prepare it. Oil in the pan, the dish is being prepared. If he adjusts the salt a little, and the pepper will be edible. The finished dish, he wonders what he can call it. In the last few times, the protagonist tried to eat. As soon as he put the food in his mouth, he spat it all out. But this time he succeeded, which is not a big surprise, but it is still tasteless, and he angrily throws the pan away. Sitting in the forest next to his fire, a noise, several eyes staring at him. Scared, he wonders if they are wolves and tries to reach his little knife. But even though he manages to catch it, he realizes that it will be useless. A roar in front of him. At that moment, the prota closes his eyes and makes movements with the knife. But suddenly, everything disappeared. Could it be that they disappeared? Then he hears a sound of something eating his food from the pan next to him. When he looks, he realizes that it's just a little dog with white fur and blue eyes. He is perplexed. While the puppy scratches himself, he wonders if he is a baby Siberian husky. Where did he come from? He keeps looking at the prota and the prota, asking what he is looking at. The young man tells the dog that if he has finished, he should go, because he doesn't like dogs. Can we conclude that the prota is crazy, right? He talks to dogs. With the dog on his lap, he keeps shaking his head, wondering how people can find dogs cute. What's so cute about that? In view of this, the prota begins to notice some details. Its fur seems a little hard, perhaps because it is wild, and also its appearance is a little different. So the penny drops. He gets scared, wondering if maybe that little dog isn't actually a wolf. But the point is, if it's a wolf, is it walking alone without its mother? Perhaps the wolves he had seen before were his family. Stopping to think, what if the little wolf's mother showed up? What would she think? Just with this thought, out of fear, the prota faints and falls face down on the ground. There he thinks that either way, wolf or dog, being eaten or starving, he will die anyway. Then the furry guy starts dragging him by his mouth and the criminal stutters. "Do you want to eat me now?" Warning in advance, human flesh smells like fish. When the little wolf stops dragging him, he looks back to see where he got to. The animal took him to a passage. "That wasn't the portal I came out of before," said the prota. He wonders if maybe he can go back that way, so he puts his hand there very slowly to see. But he gets scared. He thinks it's a portal to hell, while he tries to see what's there. The fierce wolf sees himself in a privileged position, so he runs and hits the protagonist's ass, causing the prota to fall into the immensity. As soon as he opens his eyes, he's on Earth. He's back. He survived. The prota is just sad for not being able to thank the big-headed wolf, but he guarantees that he'll never forget this debt. So he looks to the side, and there's the little animal. Right away, the prota takes the ferocious wolf to his house and tries to give the miscreant a bath. He even tries to discuss a temporary name with the animal. "I've already told you he's crazy, right?" After that, they go to bed and sleep together. Then the light hits the hallway. It's another day, and the prota gets up. He slept well that night. He doesn't even remember the last time he slept so well. In the kitchen, the prota fills a pot of food for the wolf. For the young man, wolves are a type of dog, so logically they must like food too. But when he serves the animal, he just turns his head from one side to the other. The protagonist wonders if maybe cat food or rabbit food. What should he like? At that moment, the young Master Kuka's belly makes noise. He doesn't want to starve, so he goes after eating too. A delicious feast in front of him. The Prota cooked it and left it very well seasoned so that perhaps he can taste the food. Suddenly, the wolf jumps on the table and grabs a pot of rice cakes. "This is not your food," says the Prota, so very intelligent. It is clear that the little wolf eats the dishes made by the cook and leaves all those from the convenience store. The Prota has an idea and goes to test the little animal. He made 2 dishes with super top meat. The only difference in them is the sauce. In one of them, the sauce is simple, and in the other, it is the sauce that won the national cooking competition. Now, if you really know what gourmet food is, choose it. Then the wolf comes to the first dish and smells it. This is the one with the simplest sauce, but even though it is simpler, it is still delicious. If even after smelling this sauce, the animal chooses the other one with the special touch of the Prota, it really has potential and is an epicurean. An epicurean is someone who values moderate pleasure and the search for tranquility as a means of achieving happiness. Then the guy masterminds the first dish and then immediately masters the second. There is no doubt for the Prota he is an epicurean. The young man already knew that he wasn't just any wolf, but he still couldn't always give him food from now on. Of any. The ways his face shows happiness, it's been a while, it was really worth cooking. The Prota is now painting a wall green. For him there is something wrong with that color, but he doesn't know what it is. Out loud he wonders if it's the paint, and a man passing by responds, yes, the paint that he was using it outside, it's actually used for painting inside the house. Children nowadays are not even good at choosing a painting according to him. Stammering, the Prota tries to ask the man who he is. He replies that he is the man that people greet when they move there. He is the head of the village, and since the Prota didn't go to greet him, he went to him. The man then analyzes the painting on the wall. It seems obvious that it is the protagonist's first time painting. He also notices the Prota's wolf, which after thinking a little he deduces to be a puppy. Then he tries to pet it, but the little animal escapes very quickly. The man tells the young man that he can rest assured now he will call someone to do it for him. The Prota tries to refuse, but the man insists. He asks not to schedule anything this weekend and also to leave the painting alone. He will resolve it without any problems. Faced with this situation, the young man accepts. The sun is shining once again. It's another day. The elderly man from before brought a man to do the painting. He is a son of the Jung family, who cultivates on the plantation nearby. His name is Jung Minho. The Prota is surprised because they actually came and then introduces himself. The Prota's name is Lee Kang-hyun. The service begins. The protagonist wonders why they are working so much when it's not even their home. The man turns around and asks the Prota rhetorically if that place is going to be a restaurant, if so, what type. And he replies that he plans to open an Italian restaurant. The men are surprised because it is a type of Western restaurant, especially the one owned by the Jung family, who immediately asks if pork chops will be sold there. In another moment, sitting talking Minho explains that his wife loves pork chops and the restaurant they always went to closed. She is pregnant, so they can't go very far. He even tried to prepare it himself, but it didn't work out very well. So he was curious if it would sell there, but it would be okay if it didn't sell. The Prota remembers that chops are not on the menu, but they are very easy to prepare. The only problem is that he doesn't know the taste, and for him it doesn't make sense to serve a food that he doesn't know the taste of. In the midst of this thought, he begins to reflect sadly on whether he should even open the restaurant. So the protagonist looks back and sees the little wolf, and that gives him the excitement to try and strive. I can do this. I can make pork chops. I will help you relive the past. That's all, guys. Leave a like and subscribe to follow the next videos. If you want to continue this work or there is another one that you want to become a video, comment below. Bye.